Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard 100, a video series documenting the culling of my collection from what it is to what it is going to be, and that is a Hard 100 games. I have been on the lookout for an economic game that isn't on the level of necessarily a brass, but isn't necessarily on the level of not an economic game. Now, there have not been that many. Usually when we start getting into economics, we start getting into things like Steam and brass, things like that. You think big brain burnery, crunchy things. Food Chain Magnate, I think, might be an economic game. Hell, I don't know. So when I heard that there was a family-ish, middle-ish weight style economic game, I was excited. And I'm always a sucker for anthropomorphic animals in my games. I love watching little dogs and cats and mice run around. I blame Mouse Guard. You might blame Disney movies. Whatever. I like Robin Hood. So today what we are going to talk about is a game that surprised me with how simple it was, but also whenever it was done, I looked across the table and I felt like maybe it was my fault that I lost. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about it. Raccoon Tycoon. Raccoon Tycoon, a game by Glenn Drover and Forbidden Games, is an economic game where you and a handful of friends buy railroads and towns and buildings and try to make wine worth a lot of money. This game is wonderful. This game is very, very simple. You only have 5 options on your turn, and those options will be the same from turn 1 to turn last. What you can do, you have a handful of cards. On these cards are going to have a handful of icons, and these icons are the various goods that are represented at the top of the board. We have wheat and wood and iron and coal and goods, okay? And luxury. Luxury is a little wine bottle, or it could be olive oil. I don't know what animals eat. Now, what you are doing is you are doing your best to try to manipulate these tracks to buy low, sell high, while also buying railroads to fulfill a set collection element, as well as buying towns. And ideally you want to buy towns that you can put a railroad in so you get bonus points, and then you want to buy buildings to do all this other random crazy shit. The game could not be more simple to explain. More simple? Simpler? More simple? I don't know, one of them. On your turn, you have 5 options. Like I mentioned, you can take one of those cards that have the symbols on it and you can play it down. At the bottom, you can take up to 3 of those resources, from wheat to everything. Then at the top, you will adjust the stock market thing, the value of these goods, up by 1. On my turn, I can do that, or I can sell. I can sell one type of commodity, and then depending on how I sell it, how much I sell it for, I'll get money from the bank. And then if I sold 3 goods, then the goods marker will go boom, 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 down 3. Or if I sold 10 wood, and the wood was on the 5th space, it would go all the way down to the bottom. So you crash the market really whenever you spend a lot of money to buy things. Or I can start a railroad auction. The railroad auction is where all the raccoons and bears and cats and dogs come in, and it is the simplest auction mechanic I've ever seen in a game. What the active player does is they go, I will start an auction for raccoon railroads for $10. And basically you go around the table, everyone gets 1 bid, and that's it. So if you really want it, you have to put a bid right in the beginning that everyone is going to be like, yeah, go ahead and take it. Why do you want those cards? Because if you collect a set of them, they're worth various points. If you have 1, it's 3, 2, all the way up to like 15 points if you get all 4 of them. Or maybe even more, I don't know, a lot of points. So those railroads are a set collection element. Or you can purchase a building. Purchase a building, everything has a building cost with money. You spend the money, you take the building, you put it in front of you. Boom. Every building is a single victory point at the end of the game. Wonderful. The person with the most points at the end of the game wins. The buildings do various things, such as instead of taking only 3 commodities, you can take up to 4 or 5. It can increase your hand size. It can give you extra points at the end of the game. So for every $20 you have, you get a point. So for every building you have, you get an extra point, that kind of stuff. Or with these commodities, instead of selling them, you can purchase a town. A town is usually, spend 3 wheat or 5 of anything. And then that's basically how it works, and that's the whole game. So the game is taking 1 of 5 actions. Ideally, what you're doing is you're trying to take commodities, increase their value, sell them when they're worth a lot, also using that money to buy buildings and open auctions for railroads, and then using those same commodities to try to buy towns. Towns are worth an increasing number of points as the game goes on, and for every town, if you have a railroad to put with it, will get you more points, and that's it. The game components are wonderful. It comes with the most useless, wonderful first player marker on the planet, which is this giant wooden block with a raccoon printed on it, and it's wonderful. Raccoon Tycoon. Raccoon Tycoon really made me feel like Batman. No, the other thing. Spider-Man. No, like a tycoon. Reason is this. Whenever I lost this game, I understand why I lost it. Because the game ends in one of two ways. After the last town card is bought or the last railroad is bought. Once that happens, it triggers the end game. You get points for your railroads, points for your towns, and points for your buildings. You don't get points for money unless you have a building that gives you points for money. So you are hoarding all of this money. There's also a mercy rule that if you have over $1,000, you automatically win, but we didn't come close to that. So you have all this money, this papery plastic money, which we'll talk about in a second. And I feel like I got way too greedy trying to get as many commodities as possible, to make them as expensive as possible, to sell them and get all the money so I can have all the buildings. And while I was doing this and going auctions and trying to get some sets of stuff, Phil was just buying towns. He'd buy a town, he'd win an auction every now and again. I just straight up did not focus on towns, and he ended up beating me substantially because I got too greedy. I saw all that money and I saw all the money I could make, and I wanted all the money, and I lost. So when I lost, I knew why I had lost. I knew that not only could I have played better, I could have been less selfish when I played. I was like a dog with a bone. I didn't want to let go of it because I was like, I'm gonna do this. So Raccoon Tycoon, let's talk about some housekeeping. Playtime, 60 to 90 minutes. Our first time game was around 70. Turns are crazy fast and crazy quick. The slowest part comes with you trying to figure out what commodity you want to take, and you can only hold a certain amount. So at the beginning you can only hold 10 plus 1 for every building you have. So you're gonna get commodities very quickly and you have to get rid of them. 2 to 5 players. We played this with 2 players. It was wonderful. I would play it with 3, maybe 4. I don't think I would ever want to play this with 5, but I feel like you could really, I don't know, I feel like you can have a good time. With less than 5 players, you remove some of the railroad lines. So with 4 players, you remove 1. With 2 players, you remove 2. The Raccoon Tycoon, for some reason, whenever you play with 2 players, you remove the raccoons. And it's just Tycoon. Look at that guy. Look at that fucking raccoon. He's so cute. Never saw him. All we got was another raccoon. Nope, didn't get that one either. We got these fat cats and dogs at the top. We did get those. And they were delightful. Complexity, 2 puzzle pieces out of 5. Yeah, it's pretty simple. Strategy is 4 chess pieces out of 5. I believe it. And then ages 14 and up. I don't know why. I don't care why. Raccoon Tycoon was a delight. It was kind of the perfect game that I was looking for. On your turn, you do 1 of 5 things. Easy, done. Peasy, done. And I can teach you how to play this game very simply. It's very clearly laid out. I can either do the thing at the top, do this, do that, do the thing at the bottom. That's it. You got to get commodities. Why? So you can sell them. Why? So you can buy buildings. Why do you want buildings? To hold more commodities so you can buy towns and auction railroads. And there's so many different options and it's so simple. Raccoon Tycoon, my only complaint with you, good, fine, sir, is your money is like this paper plasticky thing. It's not Monopoly level, but it's still basically paper money. When we play this again, we're most likely going to use the iron clays from the brass game because those clay clacks would be a lot better and a lot faster than having to sift through $1 at a time. So, Raccoon Tycoon. I love, this is my favorite size box. I love it. The insert is beautiful. The components are lovely. Tiles are thick. Ladies and gentlemen, Raccoon Tycoon is in my hard 100. It is perfect for my shelf. It is perfect for yours. If you want something that's fun, quick, with some good decisions, but not too complicated where you're scared to play it with your non-gamer friends. And this might be a good gateway to something bigger. If they like this, hey, let's maybe try some brass. Let's maybe try some railroad games that maybe involve actual trains in a game that involves actual raccoons. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this latest edition of the Hard 100. This has been Raccoon Tycoon. Fine game. Fantastic game. Go buy this game. Play it, love it, learn it, etc. Peace out.